Hey, good Wednesday evening. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday evening to track those storms across Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma that have been going on all night, but we're starting to get into some of those bigger cities. So we are going live. Here you go. You can see that across Kansas City, across portions of central, eastern Kansas, and then, of course, and the northern side of Oklahoma. One thing that I want to first note is that we've got a destructive tag on this storm right here. So what we've got from Perry all the way down to Orlando, just to the north and including portions of northern Mulhall here, is a very strong storm or strong line of storms here that we could see have some pretty decent wind speeds on it. So about 80 miles an hour, which I think is why we got that destructive tag. But we also could see up to golf ball sized hail. We've already seen golf ball sized hail reported here. So that's where we're going to start this evening. I am going to make sure that we are streaming on all of our platforms. We should be on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube right now. But you can probably see that I am not only producing for myself, but also showing you guys the graphics and then doing the producing behind the scenes as well, which is something that I love to do, but I always have to take this minute to pause, make sure you can hear me, make sure, and I can hear myself, and I can also now see the chats and the comments. So let me know where you guys are watching from, and if you have any questions or comments as we go throughout the, I'd like to call this round the radar here. We can just go around the radar and show you all of those storms that we have right now. But again, I want to mention where we saw the hail already. 1.5 inch size hail reported by emergency management in Logan County. So this is just to the northwest of Mulhall, right along, what is this road here? Oh, we all know this road. It's the road that takes you off and goes into Stillwater, right off a 35 here. But yes, that is where we saw 1.5 inch size hail right here, just to the north and west of Mulhall. We also saw golf ball sized hail reported by law enforcement. Golf ball and ping pong ball sized hail right here. One reported by emergency management, the other by law enforcement. We also have 80 mile per hour wind speeds reported by law enforcement as well. So that's, I think, why we got the destructive tag on this storm, not only for down by Mulhall and Orlando, but also all the way up to Perry, and then some of the strongest of the storm coming into Sumner over the next, we give 30 minutes here. We can kind of go back a little bit. I saw one question on there. Busy night? Yes, yeah, it's a busy weather day across many portions of the U.S. But there you go. There's the progression of the storm. My assumption here as well, if you can kind of tell, these storms are forming up in this line from the north to west. This line northeast to the southwest. There you go. And then they're moving to the northeast. So we're getting something that we like to call, we're getting, storms just over and over and over and over here in the same spot. So like Perry, it's been raining in Perry for, let's see, about an hour now. At least about an hour now. Heavy rain. So we're probably going to get some flooding, excessive rainfall here. Probably going to get some flooding in this line of storms. Not making too much of an easterly progression, but that northeasterly progression here. That means that we're going to really struggle to see these storms move out of Perry, Mulhall, Orlando, Crescent. We're going to see some flooding in this area. But let's not just focus on Oklahoma. Let me zoom out a little bit. Let's go all the way up to Kansas City. We've got some storms coming into Iola, just in the central eastern portion of Kansas here. And then there's those storms coming into Kansas City. Here is your warning from the National Weather Service. This warning goes for another 10 minutes, and it's pretty basic. For wind gusts, 60 miles an hour, penny-sized hail. Not anything to be too terribly concerned. This is your very generic severe thunderstorm warning. Now, if you go down to Oklahoma, those storms are much stronger. However, that's going through Kansas City right now for the next 10 minutes, penny-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Not terribly impressive, just barely over that threshold to be considered a severe thunderstorm, which is why it has that warning. That warning just to the north here, on the north side of Kansas City. This is also goes for the next 10 minutes until 8 o'clock. Also for, I would assume, just 60-mile-per-hour wind speed, but I want to double check here. Yeah, 61-mile-per-hour wind speed. However, we could see some larger hail up here, up to the size of a quarter. Still not terribly too impressive, but a little bit more impressive up to the north than what we're getting through Kansas City proper. So that'll be on the northern side of Kansas City, near Kearney. And if you guys can hear in the background, my dog is kind of moving around back there. You may be able to hear the jingling of her collar, just in case you're wondering. Here's that storm that's going through Kansas right now. Goes until 8:30. This warning goes until 8:30. 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and nickel-sized hail. So also, this is getting warned for wind, not necessarily hail. If we get over 58 miles an hour, we consider that storm a severe thunderstorm, which is why it gets that warning. If we get hail sizes over the size of a quarter, then it goes into that severe threshold. However, anything below 58 miles an hour for those thunderstorm-related wind gusts, or anything below the size of a quarter for hail, is not considered severe thunderstorm. So this is getting warned for 60 miles an hour, but not for hail. They included it on there anyway, nickel-sized hail. Going back down to Oklahoma, where these storms are a bit stronger, and let me show you the movement of these storms. Look down near Kingfisher. Look how these storms are moving up to the northeast. These storms down in Kingfisher are going to continue, where we've already got storms in Orlando and Perry right now, even going into the northern side of Mulhall. So we're going to continue to see these storms in the same area just over and over and over, most likely causing some flooding in this area. Not flooding widespread across the state, just flooding in the north central portion of Oklahoma, and Orlando, Perry, Sumner, where we're also getting some of those really strong wind gusts right now, as well as large hailstones up to golf ball sized hail. And we've already seen this is coming to fruition. So this is ground truth here from the emergency manager out in Logan County, as well as law enforcement in Logan County. Let me see and take a little pause here, see if I have any questions this evening. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know if you have any questions. And you guys, like clockwork, I just mentioned my dog and how she's kind of moving around, making a lot of noise, and she decided to get up and move around. So you may be able to hear her. One question that I see coming in from Facebook: is it going to hit Oklahoma City? That's a great question. To hear her. Let's take a look at the models. So I'm going to pull up, all right, we're going to see if you can see this. Alrighty, here's your radar model. Let's go down to Oklahoma. Here you go. Let's go into this evening. Here we go. What time is it? 8 o'clock? So here's those storms that are just to the north and west of Oklahoma City right now. Those are going to continue to, as I mentioned, the storm motion tracking to the north and east, right? We saw that earlier. So if we watch the radar loop here, these storms are tracking to the north and east. However, think of it like football players on a field. You know how they can go every which way, but they're all working towards the end zone, towards that touchdown. All right, just like that. These storms are technically moving to the north and east, but that end zone is to the east, mainly to the southeast, right? So as a pack, this line of storms is moving down to the southeast. So we're going to continue to see these storms move to the southeast as we head into, let me see if I can zoom in here. Maybe not. It may not let me. Let's see if we can zoom into this radar view here. think that's what we're on. So here you go. You guys get a behind the scenes look of how we create our forecasts. Alrighty, let's go down to Oklahoma. So, there you go. Here's Oklahoma City. Are we going to see these storms hit us here in Oklahoma City? As they move to the south and east, you're going to see those storms come through Oklahoma City if we can get storms to develop behind like these down in Hinton and Eakley. Okay, so we still need these storms to continue to develop to the south here and kind of like a zipper unzip to the south down near Carnegie and Snyder. And then as they move to the north and east, we may be able to get them in Oklahoma City. You know, we've got storms in Kingfisher right now. Can we get those to continue to unzip down to the south? Now, earlier I was thinking it doesn't look likely. It doesn't look like we're going to see storms in Oklahoma City. However, we're slowly getting those storms to unzip to the south here near Carnegie, Apache, and Anadarko. And as those continue, let's look at the storm motion here. There you go. As those continue to move from Apache to Anadarko, we could get that into Oklahoma City. So I think if we get anything here in the metro, it's going to come from right in this area. That's where you want to watch. Because these, again, as we mentioned earlier, are moving off to the north, right? Great question. Models still want to bring, here we can look at different models here. Models still want to bring storms into Oklahoma City, but I would have expected them to be a little bit farther to the south at this point. We were having that conversation in our meteorology chat earlier that we were saying, are we going to get any rain here? Are we going to get any rain here? Let's see, let's look at other models. Okay, the NAM Nest still wants to bring storms into Oklahoma City. I'll show you that here in just a minute. What about the HRRR? The HRRR does too. It's just kind of taking its sweet time to come down here. All right, let's look at our other models here. Here you go. Here's the HRRR. There's your storms that will slowly unzip to the south. So these are the ones you want to watch for right here. And there they go into Oklahoma City. 10 o'clock tonight. We've still got a few more hours. Let's look at the NAM Nest. Very similar. Maybe a little before 10. 9 o'clock, 9:30. 10 o'clock. Into the metro here. So we're kind of sitting just to the north and east of the metro right now. Or north and west of the metro right now. Let's see, what else do we have here? Get some hail reports to you. Okay, so the National Weather Service of Norman just tweeted out, storms continue along a broken line from Perry to Hobart. We have seen intensification over the last half hour, including a report of 3-inch hail northeast of Orlando. Continue to have multiple ways to receive warnings this evening. So they're encouraging you to still have multiple ways to receive warnings this evening, just because we've kind of come to a lull in those storms right now, other than these storms up near just to the north of Stillwater, into Perry, into Mulhall. The National Weather Service says 3-inch hail reported northeast of Orlando. So we'll see if that pops up on here or if they go to correct that. We'll see. We'll see what they say about that. But what they're saying from this is, yeah, continue to have multiple ways to receive warnings because we're still watching for these things farther down to the south here. And 7:57, the National Storm Prediction Center still has the enhanced risk through the north and now eastern portions of Oklahoma. That includes places like Tulsa. So we're still going to see those really strong storms, or a good likelihood of strong storms as we head into the evening and overnight hours. Any other questions this evening before I move on to maybe we can look up to Kansas City once again? And let me know if my sound doesn't work either. As I mentioned earlier, I'm kind of doing both here where I'm producing and I'm doing the sound doesn't work either. As I mentioned, and I can hear the sound. But yeah, I'm producing and I'm showing you guys all the graphics and the radar and everything at the same time. Three-inch size hail. Let's see if the National Weather Service keeps that, and if it gives us where that fell. It said to the northeast of Orlando. We'll see if they keep that. Question about Joplin storms. We can pull back up our models here, and let's see if we can see storms up in Joplin already. What time could we see storms in Joplin? Late tonight, 11, midnight. That's what time I would expect storms to go through Joplin. Okay, so the hardest stuff is most likely going through 11 o'clock tonight to midnight, so you still have a while. You still have a few more hours to keep an eye on those storms. This is going to continue to track to the east, bringing you some lingering rain into the morning hours. So by your morning commute, if you're an early riser, you may still have some rain coming down. It's not going to be severe, so that's the good news. However, you're probably going to hear the thunder and see the lightning through the overnight hours. You're probably also in the path, and I can pull up the Storm Prediction Center and see if you are in the path for that level 3. Let's see. Joplin out of the level 3 risk, however, in that level 2 risk, that slight risk here, over for you. Slight risk here for strong to severe storms. Let's see, wind is most likely going to be your biggest concern. Wind and isolated tornadoes, I think that tornado risk is pretty low. I think the wind risk is going to be your biggest concern. So it may sound really, really windy through the overnight hours tonight. You're probably asleep by this point, so make sure that your 3 different ways to get your weather alerts, one of them should be able to wake you up. Mainly because, I mean, the timing of this, you're probably going to be asleep. We're talking late tonight. Still looking at the National Weather Service to see if they are going to put 3-inch hail on their maps here. But I do want to note a new severe thunderstorm warning just to the north of Bartlesville. Okay, so these storms just to the north of Tulsa are coming out a little bit earlier than we expected. So this is in the northern side of Oklahoma, just near the Oklahoma and Kansas state line. This warning is for 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and quarter-sized hail, so barely severe, just marginally severe here. Still something to take seriously. If you hopefully have your car already in the garage, 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and quarter-sized hail is what we're expecting with this warning. That's just to the north and east of Bartlesville. And we have another severe thunderstorm warning just issued by the National Weather Service to the north of Pawnee. So we're going up to the north and zoom out so you can see exactly where I'm talking about here. So we're going up to the north and east of Oklahoma City, north of Stillwater, into Fairfax and Pawnee. This severe thunderstorm warning is issued for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and quarter-sized hail. You can see that this is the notes from the National Weather Service on this warning, but I can show you right here, Fairfax is included in this. Burbank as well included in this. Heavy rain, 60-mile-per-hour wind gust, quarter-sized hail is what we're watching for in this area. And I'm kind of wondering, I'm going to back this radar loop up just a little bit here. I'm kind of wondering if they're warning this area to almost give like an extra warning for those storms. Hang on, there you go. I'm going to zoom this out a little bit here. There we go. I'm kind of wondering if they're warning this stuff up here to give just an extra warning for these storms that are in Perry right now. You see that? How they're going up towards Fairfax and just to the north of Pawnee, probably including the northern sides of Pawnee right here. We've got some strong storms down to the south and west that are moving into this area. So we're kind of giving them an extra heads up here. Already what we've seen from these storms, golf ball and ping pong ball sized hail, 1.5 inches to 1 3/4 of an inch, as well as some really strong wind gust from this area. 80-mile-per-hour wind speeds is what we saw in Orlando. And actually, just to the north of Crescent, just earlier this evening, we also had some reports of power lines down and a really, really big tree down as well. It says down tree and power lines from a Twitter report. This is just to the north of Crescent. And I think what they were talking about here is that it passed over this highway. I think this is Highway 74. I may be incorrect on that. It's Highway 70 something, maybe Highway 71. In Crescent. I've actually taken this highway before. So I've been up there, but what we're really watching for now is, those storms, they moved to the north and east, and now they're in Perry, Sumner, still moving up to the north and east, coming into Ralston, just to the north of Pawnee, which is why we have this severe thunderstorm warning for 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and quarter-sized hail. All right, let's zoom out just a little bit. Let's see what's going on in Kansas. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning in Kansas now. This is just on the eastern side of Kansas, coming into Pleasanton, coming into Lynn Valley. In Parker right now, you can see that some of the strongest storms down in Colony. This severe thunderstorm warning is warned for 60-mile-per-hour wind gust, and it looks like we're not even warning for hail with this one. So not too worried about the hail down to Neodosha. Hope I'm saying these right. I'm sure I'm not saying all of these right. I'm going to zoom out here just a little bit so you can see my entire screen here. Any other questions on this Wednesday afternoon? We've got storms anywhere from Kansas on the eastern side of the state all the way up to just to the east of Kansas City now, making their entrance for the evening into Missouri. We also have a tornado warned storm up in Iowa. All right, this is the central and southern side of Iowa. Tornado warning that goes until 8:30. We've got 22 more minutes on this. Radar indicated, so it has no ground truth to it, but radar indicated tornado warning here. And this is for Oskaloosa, New Sharon, Eddyville, highlighted here in pink. And again, this is in the central and southern side of Iowa. So we've really seen over just the past half hour here, these storms start to kick up in intensity. We've really started to see these storms intensify and look a little bit more, or a lot more, impressive over just this last half hour here. If you looked at this back at 7:30, we had just a few severe thunderstorm warnings down here and maybe one or maybe two in Kansas. Now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 severe thunderstorm warnings going on this line that stretches from Iowa to Missouri to Kansas to Oklahoma, and 1 tornado warning. So we've seen quite an impressive intensification all along this line of storms here. This tornado warning, I think I mentioned this earlier, goes until 8:30. And what we see from something that's a line of storms like this, from this Boeing area, you see how it's almost like a backwards C shaped, it's a backwards crescent shape. This indicates that we've got some strong winds in this area. Oftentimes, whenever these storms start to bow out like this, and it's continuing to bow out even more now, probably got some really strong wind with this. And what we see from these lines of storms are these little spin up tornadoes. That doesn't mean that they're weak by any means. That just means that they're spin up tornadoes. They go really, really fast, and you get very, very little warning with this. So this warning is probably for this entire line. It doesn't mean just like 1 or 2 spots in this line, because we could have spin up tornadoes within this line, embedded within this line. These are also some of the most difficult tornadoes to see coming, because they're embedded inside this line. And so it's really difficult to see these tornadoes coming. They spin up very, very quickly. They don't stay on the ground for too long, but that still does not mean that they're weak. They could still be strong. So 1 tornado warning in the central portion of Iowa. Moving down, these storms now coming out of Kansas City. Kansas City most likely within the next 20 minutes done with your severe risk for today. We still have 1, 2, 3, 4 severe thunderstorm warnings out in the eastern side of Kansas. One of those destructive warning is just a step above a severe thunderstorm warning. That is for high wind speeds. So 70-mile-per-hour wind gust here. Moving down to the south now, and I just got an alert on my phone. We're based out of Oklahoma City, so we're located in Oklahoma City. I just got an alert on my phone that we have lightning less than 10 miles away from us. So it does look like we're starting to see storms come into Oklahoma City now. We were just talking about that. What storms do we need to be watching for? These storms out near Apache and Anadarko that are now to the north of Anadarko, now coming up closer to Minco, to the north and east of Anadarko now, coming into the metro. And not only that, not only do we have storms coming this way, but it also looks like we have storms that are trying to unzip to the south here, coming out of Piedmont, that are also coming in the metro. And I should have asked earlier whenever we had that question, I think it was from Christian. I guess it depends on where you are at in Oklahoma City, because if you are on the west side of the city, that means that you're probably getting those storms either right now or just within the next few minutes here. If you're on the east side of the city, you still got some time before you get storms. I see another question on here. Let's see. Zoom this out just a little bit more so that you can see what I'm seeing here. And it looks like we're having a little bit of issue with our stream. What are we doing with our stream here? Let's see if this is still going. Our stream looks good on YouTube. Can you guys hear us on Facebook? I don't think so, not anymore. I see a question, what's expected for St. Louis? Here, hang on 1 second. Let me get my Facebook back up and running, and then we'll get into St. Louis's weather as well. Okay, our stream looks good now on Facebook. It looks like we may have some spotty Wi-Fi issues. Let's go to our models, and let's see what to expect for the rest of the evening. Let's go to this one. There you go. Alrighty, so here's your risk from the Storm Prediction Center. We still have for the rest of the evening, so you can see this line of storms, right? There you go, there's your line of storms. There's your level 3 risk right there. There's your level 2, that slight risk, and there's your level 1. So these storms, as they progress to the east, do we have sound issues now? Tell me what, are we getting feedback or no sound at all? I can hear my sound, so we should be good. You can hear me in Facebook. Okay, so we're going to keep going if you can hear me in Facebook. Let me get my Facebook back up. Alrighty, good. Okay, so you see this line of storms, right? Okay, so we continue to see this track to the east as we head into the overnight hours tonight. Level 3 still for the next probably 4 to 5 hours here. Then that will continue to track to the east as we head into the overnight hours, into places like Fayetteville, even down to Texas, even closer to Dallas. However, if you do note here, Austin has been taken out of the risk. This will continue into the early morning hours into places like St. Louis. That was just asked about, and I'll show you your model here in just a minute. Little Rock, and then even into Louisiana into the early morning hours tomorrow. We're talking 6, 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. So let me get right into your models here. Going back to your forecast models, and I can change views if you want to look at places like St. Louis. Here we are. Hang on, let me make this a little bit bigger. Here we are this evening. We are looking at it's 8:15 right now. The storms are starting to come slowly into Oklahoma City and move out of Kansas City. As I mentioned, through the overnight hours, it'll continue to track to the east into places like Tulsa and then into the western to central side of Missouri. It slowly, right around this time, right around midnight, maybe 1 a.m., will start to weaken in intensity. We're not seeing those hazards as impactful as we are right now until about midnight. We're going to continue to see that tornado risk go down, the wind risk as well go down. I think the hail risk goes down a little bit earlier in the evening, let's say 11 o'clock, 10, 11 o'clock tonight. This will continue into the early morning hours, so we're at about 4 o'clock tomorrow morning at this point. Still, it could be really loud. At this point, we're coming into St. Louis. Let's say 2 to 3 o'clock overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning. So you're probably asleep at this point. If we do have anything severe at this point at 2, 3 o'clock while you're sleeping, you need 3 ways to alert you of that severe thunderstorm warning. Is that from your phone, maybe a NOAA weather radio, maybe you've got your neighbor calling you and they're going to stay up all night to watch it. That's up to you. You can choose your 3 ways, but at least one of those should be able to wake you out of your sleep. Because, I mean, think about the timing of this. It's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. All right, continuing on here. Now you're probably up or getting ready to get up at this time. 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Storms continue. I'm not expecting anything severe or very, very, very low severe chance through Missouri and portions of Illinois. And then as we head into Arkansas, maybe some stronger storms, even up to even some flooding risks into central Arkansas at this point. We're looking at about 9 o'clock tomorrow morning here. And if you look back to the west, what do we have? I'll show you. I'll give you even a hint. What do we have back to the west in the plains tomorrow morning? Temperatures. Temperatures are cooler. It finally feels like fall. Tomorrow afternoon, we get to the mid-60s for Halloween. Holy moly, look at those cooler temperatures through Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska. 60s, 50s. It's much cooler behind this front, behind this line of storms. So that'll be, look at that front there. That'll be really, really nice to finally feel like fall. You may have to wear your jacket with your Halloween costume tomorrow. Your kiddos may have to find the jacket and pull it out. They probably haven't needed it in the last week or two. But yes, it does look a little bit cooler behind this front. Temperatures are going to drop. Alrighty, let's go back to the radar here. Do we have any other questions before I switch gears going back to the radar here? We've got other comments. Happy Halloween. You know, at Hail Trace, we like to say Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween, right? It's not technically Halloween because we're not technically getting hail on Halloween, but we're really close. We've just got 4 more hours. Now, we have been keeping an eye on this area because the National Weather Service had originally said on their Twitter 3-inch size hail. They didn't correct it from what I've seen. They may be able to, they may be trying to figure out the location of that. Maybe that's why we haven't seen that report quite yet. I don't know. I don't know about that. Do we think that we could see that large of hailstone in this area? We've already got ping pong and golf ball sized hail reported in this area. Are we expecting large hail, anything larger than ping pong ball sized hail? I think we could see up to baseball sized hail. So I think that we could get a little bit larger than this right here, but we'll have to see what they say about that. Hail in northwest Arkansas. Yeah, you guys are in that hail risk. So if you see here, let me take off. Let me clean this up a little bit here. Alrighty, so this is your risk. And I guess it depends on where you are in northwest Arkansas. This is your risk. This is your level 3, your enhanced risk, your level 2, your slight risk, and then your level 1 marginal risk. Let me switch over. Oh wait, there you go. There's your, basically the same thing, right? Level 3, level 2, level 1 risks here. This is your tornado risk. Here's your hail risk. Northwest Arkansas, probably small hail, probably pretty isolated, but it's possible. Hail in Northwest Arkansas. I mean, if you can split this state into quadrants and you want the north and west side of the state, you've got it right there. You are included in the hail risk. It'll probably be late tonight, early tomorrow morning for you to get hail. And actually, if we look at tomorrow, I don't know if we can look at tomorrow here, but we do have a risk for tomorrow morning. For the rest of Arkansas, we're talking about central, even into eastern Arkansas. The risk for hail is really, really low here. Tornado and wind risk is what you're probably going to get tomorrow morning. But we do still have a hail risk for the north and western side of the state overnight tonight. So your timeline here is overnight tonight. So maybe you can go work and knock on doors early tomorrow morning. And of course, we'll have that mapped for you on Hail Trace. We have people around the clock, 24/7 mapping storms. So overnight tonight, yes, there's still going to be mapping storms for you. Let's see. So this is your hail risk. This is your tornado risk. Here's your wind risk. From now until the overnight hours, until early tomorrow morning. And there's your severe weather categories. We still have that enhanced risk, that level 3, going through Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and just to the east of Kansas City. We have that level 2 that goes barely skimming the southern portion of Iowa, all the way down to Columbia, Springfield, Fayetteville, even including Dallas here with that level 2 risk. And then that level 1 farther off to the east. That which goes, I think if you're in a level 1 risk, you're probably getting storms early tomorrow morning. You're not getting storms tonight. What other questions do we have? The east. That which goes, we can pull up, I guess, the radar. You probably want to see the radar, right? Let's pull up the radar again. So let me clean this up. Let me take your SPC risk off. Let's put your radar, your warnings, and your watches back on. Kind of a recap of the warnings here. 1 tornado warning up in Iowa, 2 severe thunderstorm warnings that extend past this, just to the east. What I'm thinking here is probably wind and small hail. Let's see if I'm right. Let's go to this warning. Moving to the east, 45 miles an hour, pretty decently fast, and 60 mile per hour wind gusts. So yes, I was right, warned for wind, not for hail up in Iowa. But we do have a tornado warning that looks like they may have canceled this warning here. But what we were talking about earlier are these little spin up tornadoes that even though we say little, even though we say quick, even though we say spin up, does not mean that they can't be strong tornadoes. It doesn't mean that they can't, knock things over and blow trees down and blow power lines down and blow the siding off of your house. That's still very possible. However, they're just very, very quick tornadoes. You have very, very little warning with those tornadoes, but it does look like that warning is canceled. As we go farther down to the south, all right, we're just to the east of Kansas City now. Into Utica, Richmond, Missouri, Odessa, Missouri. These severe thunderstorm warnings are moving to the east at 40 miles an hour, so a little bit slower here. 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and penny-sized hail. So that's a trend that we're seeing, is that wind is going to be what we're warning for and not necessarily the hail risk. And as we are moving down to the Oklahoma City Metro here, we have an update from the National Weather Service on Twitter for the Oklahoma City Metro. They have decreased the tornado risk in the metro from a medium to low risk. So they're bringing that risk down. However, they say don't let your guard down. We're still expecting those storms to continue. And that's a great segue for me to bring you down from Kansas and into Oklahoma here. What we're watching for right now are these storms just up I-35 and then to the east, Perry, Pawnee, Fairfax, and Hominy, Oklahoma. Still one severe thunderstorm warning, which does look like it's expected to expire, I think, at 8:30. I think that's how long this one goes for. 8:30, yes, correct on that. It's still moving to the northeast at 45 miles an hour. But look, back to the south, we still have storms behind this storm. Now, while the rain and the intensity of this storm may start to go down, we are still expecting rain to continue in this area, which could cause some flooding issues. Not as worried about the flooding in Perry as I was earlier, but at Orlando, you may have some flooding issues. And then down the line, if not now, Pawnee, you may be having some flooding issues as well. Other than that, these severe thunderstorms are warned for, let's see, scattering, damaging winds with isolated significant wind gusts. So they're not saying widespread here, they're saying isolated, 75-mile-per-hour wind speeds possible. And they're saying isolated, very large hail events up to 2.5 inches in diameter, also possible. There you go. We found where we could see that baseball-sized hail. And you know, just before our forecast, our noon forecast today, we were talking about bringing down the hail risk. Now, we moved it a little bit farther to the west, but we did move it a bit down to the south, and that is where now the National Weather Service is saying isolated baseball-sized hail through this area. Now, this one, let me make sure we're looking at the right thing here. Further down to the south near Pawnee, that'll be quarter-sized hail. Your baseball-sized hail probably back to, and they made the west. Let's see. Bring you back a little bit here. There you go. We saw those hail reports right in here. There's your hail reports for large hail up to the size of a ping pong and golf ball size. And then you've got that 80-mile-per-hour wind speed as well in Orlando. Now that was earlier. Now, as we move this to the a little bit farther into the night here, there's your current radar right here. Fairfax, Pawnee. We're still watching for some decently sized hail in this area. We're also watching for some strong wind, mainly in this area. However, this severe thunderstorm warning about to expire here in about a minute, so not too terribly worried about the risks here in this area still. And then as we head farther down to the south, now this is what we're watching to come into Oklahoma City. Not severe warned right now. That doesn't mean that something can't pulse up in Minco, and then we've even got some storms back near Apache. So here you go. Let's go forward with this radar loop here. Minco coming into Mustang right now. This is your current radar view. This will continue to track to the northeast. So we're most likely going to see storms into Mustang within the next 5-10 minutes here, into Bethany, Oklahoma City, the Village. So these storms are moving up to the north and east. What other questions do we have this evening? I'm not saying all of these right. I'm going to zoom out here just a little bit so you can see my entire. Let's see what other questions we have. Saying these right. I'm sure. Turn the sound off so I can see your questions. I can see your comments on Facebook and YouTube. One question about Tulsa. All right. Great timing because we have a severe thunderstorm warning just to the west of Tulsa right now. This goes into Prue, so it depends on where you are in Tulsa. Are you like Sand Springs area? Because you'll probably have storms by about 9 o'clock in Sand Springs. However, a little bit farther or a little bit longer after that in the Tulsa and Broken Arrow area, probably closer to 10 o'clock. We can pull up our models here. We've been kind of going back and forth. Large hail in Missouri yet? Question mark from Chris. We have all of our severe thunderstorm warnings have been for small hail in Missouri, if any hail at all. This is going to be warned for wind speed, barely impressive, up to 60 miles an hour. And it does look like this severe thunderstorm warning is getting canceled here as well. Parts of it are. Okay, 60 mile per hour wind gust and penny-sized hail. The National Weather Service in Missouri saying expect damage to roofs, siding, and trees. So that's what we've got up in Missouri. But I'm getting distracted. If you ever watch my live streams, you know that we've got some distractions all the time. Let me go back to Tulsa. Let me get your reflectivity. Maybe. There you go. Alrighty. Timing for Tulsa here. Here you go. To kind of orientate you on the map. Here's Tulsa. Right here. What did I say earlier? 10 o'clock based on radar. We're looking at maybe a bit earlier than that, 9:30, 10 o'clock here. Based on the NAM nest. The HER doing a little bit better with those storms out in front of this line. This is the line that we're watching for severe weather, for the best chances for severe weather. And the HER is saying closer to 10 o'clock. So I'm going to say between 9:30 and 10, but depends on where you are in Tulsa. These storms right here, not too impressive with this, or not too impressed with this here. Got a little bit of lightning coming through Broken Arrow right now. A little bit of lightning through Catoosa, Valley Park, all the way up to Oologah. This is still in the watch. Tulsa, the entire Tulsa area, all the way up to Bartlesville, Okemah, Shawnee, Oklahoma City in the watch here. And look at that, we do have a new severe warned storm coming out of Fort Cobb, coming out of Carnegie, going into Gracemont, going into Binger and Spring Creek, Kogar, all included in this here. Your warning is for 60 mile per hour wind speeds and quarter-sized hail. Not, again, that is just barely into that severe weather or severe storm threshold. It looks like we still have some connectivity issues. So Facebook, are we still streaming on Facebook? How we doing? Gotta love technology, you guys. Looks still good on Facebook. I think. Oh, gotta love technology. Looks good on YouTube as well. Kendra on YouTube saying, I've been to Tulsa. Yes, me too. That's how I know how to pronounce all of these town names. And also out near Binger. I've been also out here, which is where we have our next severe thunderstorm warning. That goes until 9:15. So we've got a little bit on this. These storms must not be moving that terribly fast. Slower storm speed the farther south that you go. I've noticed that. 35 miles an hour down here on your tail end Charlie. However, if you go a little bit farther up to the north, these storms were warned for a little bit faster earlier. Let's see what we've got here. Moving to the east, 40 miles an hour. All right, not too bad there. We had a 45 mile per hour up to the north, so we're in Iowa now. moving to the, did I read that correctly right before I closed out? Earlier warned for 50 miles an hour. This one moving to the east at 45 miles an hour. Elijah asks, and that's all good. You know, things change all the time. Elijah asked, sorry if you've already been asked this, I just tuned in. How's Oklahoma City Metro looking for hail? And again, that's all good. Things change all the time, so you can always ask. So for hail here in Oklahoma City, we're not too concerned about the hail sizes right now. Earlier in places like Crescent, we had some larger hail sizes. Right in this area, we had ping pong to golf ball sized hail. Kind of catching you up here, Elijah, giving you a quick recap. We had really strong winds in this area as well near Orlando, 80 miles an hour. So some really strong winds, some impressive hail to the north of Oklahoma City. Now we're looking at this line of storms that's becoming a little bit more impressive as it moves closer to the metro. But the hail in this area, hail potential, not as impressive as what we saw earlier. That doesn't mean that it can't spike up, that it can't intensify quickly. The National Weather Service said that tornado risk is going down as we move throughout the night, as we get a little bit later on into the night. However, I do think that we could still see some decent hail from this. I would say up to the size of a golf ball. So we're slowly taking those hail sizes down, but we're not counting them out completely. Right now, we have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings close to the metro, one for quarter-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gust. It's a little bit farther back to the south and west. This is near Carnegie, just to the north of Anadarko here. But then a little bit closer to the metro, El Reno, Calumet. This is your newest severe thunderstorm warning that I'm not quite sure we've talked about yet. That goes until 9 o'clock, so we've got another 23 minutes on that. Moving to the northeast at 50 miles an hour, so we're starting to see that storm speed ramp up, at least for this storm right here. And your warning here, not terribly impressive, 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and quarter-sized hail. So that's just above severe threshold. And that will go into Piedmont within the next 20 minutes here, let's say about 9 o'clock, just skimming the western side of El Reno, going into Piedmont at least by 9, if not maybe a bit before. So zooming out, kind of getting you a bird's eye view here of what we're looking at. We have severe thunderstorm watches in effect from the northern side of Missouri through the southeastern side of Kansas, all the way through northern and central Oklahoma City here. Had some really, really impressive storms just to the north of us earlier. Dry right now. Most recently, I don't think we've talked about this yet. We did get a small hail report, less than the size of a quarter, less than an inch in diameter, from a storm chaser out in Altoona, Kansas, which is in Wilson County. It's on the east side, southeast side of Kansas. This is an area I'm not as familiar with. I used to work in Wichita, so we covered this entire area. So we covered a very large area of the state, or really of the country, just right in the heart of the country here. One thing that's really interesting about this area of the country where we covered, you could have like a drought, just like we did today, drought and fire conditions out in Garden City in the southwestern side of Kansas. We've got colder and even some snow expected, and that may be what this is up here, some snow up in the northwestern side of the state. Of course, you've got those storms through central Kansas. So it's almost like you had 3 different seasons. You've got your summer, your winter, and of course, your spring-like storms like what we're seeing now, all within the same state, all through Kansas. So covering this and forecasting for this was always keeping me on my toes because I was always covering almost multiple different seasons all in one day or all in one night. Oklahoma, it's just a little bit easier, but these storms will also have you on your toes. Let's see if we've got any updates here. Let's see what these storms can do as they continue to progress to the east. Any other questions before I just keep on going here? Another question about Missouri, so we can go up to Springfield here. Springfield is in the risk most likely for late tonight, if not early tomorrow morning. So showing you the risk here. There's your risk. Here is your level 3 enhanced risk. Springfield, Missouri, which was asked by, I think it's Cody, highlighted here in the yellow, and that level 2 risk, that slight risk. Your storms will probably come through late tonight, if not early tomorrow morning. We're talking maybe 2 a.m.-ish. Tornado risk, low tornado risk for Springfield. Hail risk, low hail risk as well. Wind risk, a little bit more impressive, so that's very consistent with what we've been seeing with storms through the entire night tonight, is that wind risk is more impressive than the hail risk. So if you do see a severe thunderstorm warning, it's probably warned because of some high wind, not necessarily because of hail. That doesn't mean that you can't have hail mixing in with that as well. Anything else impressive with Springfield here? I think we've got, those are your main hazards. Let's pop back on our radar, but I also want to get you back to your models. Oh, we'll get to that in just a minute. There you go, there's your radar. Let's take a look at Springfield. Time-wise, so here's your HER model. Springfield, you're looking right around midnight to 1 o'clock for the strongest storms coming through. Earliest timing, 11 o'clock. Most likely timing, midnight to 1. At the NAM here, very similar. Earliest timing, 11 o'clock. Most likely timing, midnight to 1 o'clock. After that, you're probably going to get some lingering rain into the early morning hours. So if you're an early riser, if you have an early commute, you may have some rain for that, but your severe risk will basically be moved out by the time the sun comes up, or even before the sun comes up for your morning commute. Unless you had a schedule like I used to have. I used to get up at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning for work. But unless you've got that early morning schedule, if you're getting up at 4, 5, 6 o'clock for work, your severe risk will be moved out of the way, moved on to the east of you in Springfield. Let's see what our other questions are. We've had a pretty steady stream of questions tonight. One that I missed earlier, Arlington, Texas. We can get on to Texas. We really haven't talked about Texas at all. Let's see. So very similar to what we did earlier. I'm not going to take off the radar, but I'll pop back on your SBC risk here. So this is your classic. You've seen this all the time. It may look a little different from my view, but there's your level 3, there's your level 2 risk, Arlington still included, and right on the line of the level 2 slight risk highlighted there in yellow. Your storms are not going to arrive at least for another few hours. I'm talking overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning. Go back to, I've got 7 million tabs open right now. Let's readjust our view. Let's go down to Texas. So you may get some rain, most likely non-severe, by 10, 11 o'clock tonight. But the severe stuff is going to come through the early morning hours, maybe even waking you up by 2 o'clock tomorrow morning, 3, 4, 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, finally moving out by the time the sun comes up. So again, with that morning commute, if you have a really early morning commute down in DFW, you're probably going to want to turn on the news, check your radar, check your radar app on your phone before you head out the door. If you are on the west side of the city, you may be in the clear. If you're on the east side of the city, it's going to take a little bit longer for storms to clear up on the east side of the city. So this is 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. You can see in Dallas, you've still got some lingering storms out there. Looks like we've got a new severe thunderstorm warning now. Or a continued one for Binger, Oklahoma. Actually, this looks like we have the looks like we've got the destructive tag on this, but just double checking here. Or maybe confirmed. Yeah, it looks like we've confirmed. Okay, so we've confirmed some really strong wind gusts down here. So this is a mesonet station 4 miles to the north and northwest of Fort Cobb measured 71 mile per hour wind speeds with this storm. So we've got some really strong wind speeds here. 70 mile per hour wind gust and quarter-sized hail is what we've got for these storms down near Fort Cobb, Albert, and just to the south of Binger, continuing to move to the north and east at 35 miles an hour. So we're talking about just to the north of Minko here, and then eventually into Yukon. Yukon, you may be seeing some lightning and thunder and hearing some thunder right now, very similar to Mustang, because we've got one little storm, one little cell out there that it's not severe warned. It's probably bringing you some rain. That may be what I'm getting on my phone, the alert that I'm getting on my phone. Because of lightning in the area. We're located in Oklahoma City, so I may be getting some lightning in the area here. Looking at some of our other questions now. Feel free to stick your question back in the chat if I happen to miss it. You guys know how this works. I multitask, kind of going back and forth between platforms here, making sure I can see everyone's questions. I'm doing my best. Alrighty, zooming out now. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 severe thunderstorm warnings in effect right now between Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma. I was actually looking at the records for statewide records for October for severe thunderstorm warnings issued, because it's not very often that we have these severe storm outbreaks in October. And I think we were in the 30s. So if we can get over 30 something severe thunderstorm warnings issued tonight, I think we break some sort of record for the amount of warnings in October. But I'll double check that whenever we get off of here, and I'll update you guys that on our social media pages. Questions about Oklahoma City and Norman. Right now, okay, timing for Oklahoma City and Norman. Right now we're dry in Oklahoma City proper, and we're also dry in Norman, but we could see some of these storms come into Oklahoma City over the next hour. Norman, it may take a little bit longer, so I'm not terribly concerned about the Norman storm risk right now. However, Norman is still included, highlighted here in orange, still included in that level 3 risk for storms. Level 3 risk for storms, also known as the enhanced risk for severe thunderstorms. This is mainly for wind. This is mainly for strong wind speeds and decent sized hail. I'm taking that hail risk down just a little bit here because we've been seeing some smaller hail sizes. So the trend is your friend, right? If we look at the trend, it looks like our hail sizes are going to be on the smaller side. So we're talking quarter sized hail, 1 inch in diameter, to maybe up to the size of a ping pong ball. It's looking less and less likely that we're going to get those super large hail sizes, but we can look at our, you know what we should do? We should look at some of our other models, like your significant hail model. We show this during our noon forecast every day. Let's see what it says right now. Okay, so we're looking down here. We're looking at Oklahoma City. We're looking at, I'm going to back this up. just a little bit. And can we move it? It doesn't look like we can, but you guys can see this, right? Yeah, it looks like you guys can see this. So we're looking at our significant hail model. 9 o'clock. It's almost 9 o'clock here. Still pretty impressive. Not terribly bad through Oklahoma City. You can see the line of storms that we're making here. Not even terribly bad down in Dallas either. As we go throughout the overnight hours, that definitely goes down. Still not terribly bad in Dallas through the overnight hours. However, someone was asking about northwestern Arkansas. We've got some specks of yellow mixing in with the significant hail model. As those storms go through overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning, it looks like the hail is going to be a lot smaller up in northwestern Arkansas than what we would expect down in Dallas. So this is going to continue to track to the east through the overnight hours tonight. We'll still have storms tomorrow morning. However, the hail likelihood, the hail sizes are going down and down and down as we go through the overnight hours. So there's your hail risk. I think that question was for Oklahoma City earlier. And I appreciate you watching. Let's go back to Facebook here and see if I can see your comments once again. Kind of doing this back and forth thing over and over. Tulsa and East. Okay, this is a comment that I missed earlier. I think we've talked about Tulsa just a little bit here, but we are starting to see storms come into the Tulsa, the wide metro here. So if you can include places like Owasso or Skytook as part of the Tulsa metro, we will start to see those storms come through by 9:30 this evening. So we've still got storms off by like Hominy and Pawhuska. And this severe thunderstorm warning is issued for 60-mile-per-hour wind speed and nickel-sized hail. So your hail sizes here, not terribly impressive. The winds are going to be the biggest threat here. This is moving pretty fast, 50 miles an hour. So if you look at Hominy to almost Owasso, we're going to get there in the next 36 minutes. So these storms up to the north are moving pretty fast. These storms down to the south, not as fast. So it depends on what side of Tulsa you're on. I think Reno is asking this here. We can go to your models, kind of back and forth here as we've been doing all night long. Zoom down. Let's go down just a little bit to Tulsa here. There's Tulsa at the bottom of your screen, right there. In the middle of your screen, the bottom of my screen. Let's talk about timing here. Here we are, we're about 10 o'clock. I think 10 o'clock is the sweet spot for Tulsa, at least like Tulsa proper. This will continue to track to the east. I know we had a broken arrow in here earlier. So if you're on the east side of Tulsa, and I think the question that Reno was asking was Tulsa and to the east. So if you continue to track to the east here, you're talking about the early morning hours at this point. This right here is for midnight, 1, 2, 3 o'clock, finally out of Tulsa. So by the time you get up tomorrow morning, you're going to be dry. Even my mom, who's an early riser, she's out in Tulsa, and she gets up at 4:30 in the morning, really early. Her commute tomorrow will also be dry. Sometimes she walks in the morning, and I'm so impressed. It may be a little puddly out there. There may be some puddles on the ground, Mom, but it will be dry. It will not be raining on you tomorrow morning for your walk. Alrighty, let's go to some other questions here. What type of hail have we seen so far? So the largest hail size that I have seen tonight was back to the north of Oklahoma City, not in Oklahoma City. It just popped up right there near Mulhall, Orlando, just to the south of Perry. And I think if I even go back a little bit farther here, Crescent got some really high wind speeds. We didn't see any hail in this area. However, this near just to the north of Crescent, we had some really strong wind gusts come across this highway here. The most impressive hail, however, to answer your question, is 1.5 inches and 1 3/4 reported by emergency management. Reno said the Muskogee side of Tulsa. Oh yeah, you're down to the south of Tulsa. So your timeline is going to be even later and at night. Still, the storms will be wrapped up by the time you get up for work in the morning. So by the time the sun goes up, if you're going to be knocking on any doors, I think that it'll be dry to do so. But still, if we look to the south and east of Tulsa, we're talking Muskogee now. We're talking about midnight tonight, maybe 11 o'clock midnight. You're getting pretty late in the night. You're probably asleep by this point. So make sure, in case anything does flare up in this area, make sure that you have multiple ways to receive your weather reports. You want at least 3 ways to receive those reports. One of those ways should be able to wake you up. So maybe that's a NOAA weather radio, maybe you have a trusted friend that you trust to call you, or maybe say, I always say the phone, but I'm a little iffy. Make sure you charge your phone. I don't always like to rely on the phone for weather alerts, but I know that's what some people use. Zach asks, storm chances in Oklahoma City through the weekend. Okay. This is something that we were watching today that you may be looking at day 5. Is that what you're watching for? All right. Here we go. Let's look at day 5. Come on. So this is Sunday. For everyone that doesn't know yet, Zach is helping me give you the first update on storms on Sunday. We have a day 5, 15% chance for severe storms on Sunday. I haven't even looked at models yet. I've been so focused on today, but we can go ahead and look at long-term models here. It's hard to tell 5 days out if we're going to get storms, but maybe we can at least give you some sort of timeline. All right, here's today. Tomorrow, Friday. Let's adjust your radar view here, your model view. Sunday, 7 o'clock. What are we looking at? Here's your cape. Not terribly impressive. Shear a little bit more impressive. Supercell composite. Not bad up to the north. Lapse rate. Lapse rate is really important for hail. A little bit more impressive out to the west. Look at that severe weather risk. Includes western Oklahoma. So do we think that we're going to see storms in Oklahoma City? Maybe, but the hail risk right now is looking a little bit more impressive out to the west of Oklahoma City. Lapse rate. A little bit more impressive out to the west as well. We'll just go down the line here. Well, we have a cap. Storm relative helicity. That's looking like western Oklahoma is going to have the best chance for severe storms. Not terribly impressive as we get a little bit closer to the metro. Not as impressed into the metro. However, we're still 5 days out. We get a ton more information on storms about 48 hours out. That's whenever we really start to see the storm models come together, and whenever we really start to see information that we need to forecast the timing of those storms, about 48 hours out from the storm. So whenever we look 5 days out, it's really hard to tell timing, and it's really difficult to tell location. But again, if I were to pinpoint a spot right now, I would say west of the metro. I would say storms look a little less impressive as we get closer to Oklahoma City. Honestly, whenever I was looking at that, I was focusing on Oklahoma and didn't even look up into Kansas. So we go back through here and look up into Kansas. Let's back a little bit. Maybe a little bit more impressive up in Kansas than what we're seeing in Oklahoma. Yeah, a little bit more impressive in like north central Oklahoma, south to central Kansas. Still, I think as we get into the metro here, I'm not terribly impressed. So we'll have to keep an eye on Wichita and Woodward for those storm chances on Sunday. I love that you asked that because I have not even gotten a chance to look at Sunday because we've been dealing with these storms today. We've got right now, let's give you an updated look. Ooh, we've got some storms moving into Oklahoma City right now. Yukon, now severe thunderstorm warned, and in the northwestern side of Oklahoma City, we also have a severe thunderstorm warning, including the Village, Bethany, and Edmond. While we were chatting about Sunday, these storms just looks like they exploded out of Union City and Mustang all the way up to Bethany, the Village, Edmond. All right, let's see what the severe thunderstorm warning is for. Moving to the northeast at 40 miles an hour. Wind gusts 60 miles an hour and quarter-sized hail. So very similar to what we've been seeing across most of the plains tonight, barely over that severe threshold. This is what we call marginally severe, where we barely reach over that severe threshold. Severe threshold is any wind gust over 58 miles an hour, so we usually say 60 miles an hour, which is what this is warned for, and over or up to quarter-sized hail. This is for quarter-sized hail, so we have that marginally severe warning here. This includes Piedmont, Edmond, all the way up to Arcadia, the Village as far south as the northern side of Mustang. It includes Oklahoma City. It includes the northwestern side of the city. This area right here just got hit for hail a month ago, 3 weeks ago, and maybe less than that. You have to check my timeline, my calendar here. All right. Any other questions? Now that we've got storms into Oklahoma City, we're still included in this watch, but if you're back to the north and west of Kingfisher, Lacey, Hennessy, you're out of the severe risk for tonight. Eakley, Hinton, out of the severe risk for tonight. Still, who is in the severe risk? North of Anadarko, we've still got a severe thunderstorm warning just to the east of Binger right now. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning from Mustang up to Yukon into Edmond, the Village, Bethany as well. Let's see if we've got any updates from the National Weather Service here. And you know, honestly, even if we just get rain in this area, we need it. We need the rain in this area. I posted on my Facebook today whenever it rained. It rained in like the northern side of the city earlier today. I posted on my Facebook, every dad in Oklahoma right now looks out the window and says, we needed this. And I'm sure you guys know someone, you know who I'm talking about. You know, you have someone in your life. You know exactly who I'm talking about. All right, let's make sure I'm not missing anything up in Missouri, Kansas. I know we had someone in here from Springfield earlier. These storms haven't even gotten to Joplin yet, so you still have a while there. Looking at our Facebook comments, making sure I haven't missed anything yet. Sometimes I skip right over a few of these, making sure you guys can hear me. Alrighty. Let's go back down to this one. It looks like this storm is for, this may have just been upgraded. 70-mile-per-hour wind gust here from Gracemont to Spring Creek to Cogurt. This is what we were talking about earlier, where you're going to see these pulsating thunderstorms, 60 to 70 mile per hour wind speeds, even though some of them may only be warned, like Yukon, only warned for 60 mile per hour wind speed. That doesn't mean we can't see it pulse up to 70 mile per hour wind speed. It becomes a little bit more destructive at that time. 70 mile per hour winds can blow bigger trees over, can blow your power lines over, trees can hit power lines in that way as well. So we can see these pulse up very quickly. I think the farther and farther we get away from sunrise or from sunset into the overnight hours, the more and more that we're going to see, the less of a likelihood we have for storms to pulsate like that. So they're going to be weaker and weaker as we get into the overnight hours. Just making sure that we are not going to, we don't have any updates from the National Weather Service here. Minnie asks, how about, okay, you're going to have to help me with this, Minnie. I used to live in Kansas, and I've been struggling to say this all night long. Chanute, Kansas? I just feel like I'm saying it wrong. I'll tell you what happened there. Let me go back. So Minnie asks, are we going to have hail? Your severe chances are just about done. Look at this. We had storms earlier tonight around 8 o'clock. We had some decent wind. Looks like 70-mile-per-hour wind speeds just to the north of you. Some smaller hail down to the south, up to barely, just slightly smaller than the size of a quarter. Smaller than the size of 1 inch in diameter. We're talking about 9/10 of an inch in diameter. But now you're getting rain, and it looks like your severe chances are just about done. What we're watching for is this line just to the east of you, out in eastern Kansas and even portions of western Missouri, right along the Kansas and Missouri state line here. And then you're getting some good rain right now, which you may need. It may cause some flooding issues within the next hour, but I'm going to call it ponding issues. I'm not terribly worried about, oh, go back. Okay. Not terribly worried about those flooding issues here. And Minnie, I apologize for my pronunciation of Chanute. Feels like I'm saying it wrong. And I'm embarrassed because I used to live in Kansas. I should know this, right? We've got another severe thunderstorm warning now. Minko, Union City, Mustang, and now Yukon once again included in that severe thunderstorm warning. Here is what the National Weather Service has to say about that. So the National Weather Service down in Norman says severe storms continue in a line from near Stillwater to just to the west of Lawton. We've had severe hail as well as winds up to 70 miles an hour with this line. So be ready to wait out these storms indoors until they pass. Basically what they're saying is, as I said earlier, these storms can pulse up and down, even though they're only warned for 60-mile-per-hour wind right now and quarter-sized hail. It doesn't mean that we can't see some small areas of this pulse up and produce larger hail and stronger wind speeds. This is what we talk about when we talk about isolated. You know, these storms, you can see really small pockets inside of them that could produce some of those stronger wind speeds, that could produce some of that larger hail, while the rest of it, the majority of it, is going to produce those smaller hail stones and not as strong wind speeds. And you know, I'm regretting what I did about 3 hours ago now. You guys, now that these storms are coming into my area, into Oklahoma City, I realized I did not put my car in the garage. I have a severe thunderstorm warning now. It's too late. Just as the National Weather Service says, stay inside, I realized my car is sitting out now, and I'm regretting that just a little bit at this time. So, whoops. Didn't think that went through. Alrighty, let's see what these storms are doing now. Man, I'm almost sad about that. We still have storms up in northern Missouri. We're talking Brookfield here. Let's see what these are warned for. 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. The National Weather Service not even worried about hail with this line of storms right here. We're talking about wind. And these storms slowly getting into environments that are less conducive for hail even to begin with. We're not even worried about it. So we're talking about wind here. We do have some reports of some trees down. Trees reported in Wheeling, multiple houses damaged. Time estimated from radar. So this was about 25 minutes ago. And this is Wheeling, Missouri. Trees down and a few houses damaged. in this area. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning now. This most likely warned, yep, same as what we've been talking about all night, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts in Warrensburg. And we had someone ask about Sedalia. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. We had someone ask about that earlier today as well, so I know exactly where this is. We may have some strong winds with this line of storms that's blowing out just a little bit here. We're watching for some strong wind, 60 miles an hour near Warrensburg right now. And this severe thunderstorm warning goes until 9:10. Got another, excuse me, at 9:10. Let's see, when does this severe thunderstorm warning goes until 10 o'clock. There you go. There you go, until 10 o'clock. So it's here. Still watching to see if the National Weather Service says anything about these storms or even an update on that large hail that they mentioned earlier. Another thing that you're going to see from this line of storms is a temperature drop. So if we go to the Oklahoma Mesonet, look at that temperature drop across the state. We are in the 30s in the panhandle of Oklahoma, and we are in the mid to upper 70s. Ooh, we've even got some 80s out there in the southern side of Oklahoma. From the 30s to the 80s, we're doubling our temperature, if that's how that works. From Pauls Valley to Kenton, Oklahoma, temperature warms about 40 degrees. Holy moly. Now, what's a little bit more impressive, because this is a long distance away, what's a little bit more impressive here is just how much we've dropped from Yukon to Oklahoma City. So Yukon was in the 70s earlier, and it looks like we dropped about 15 degrees in just a few minutes here. El Reno, even colder than that, 58 degrees right now. If we pull up our handy dandy meteogram, one of my favorite things to look at from the Mesonet, it looks like we were at, let's see, and if we kind of zoom out here, look at that. Okay, so that's whenever the front hit. We saw wind speeds, wind direction change, wind speeds go down and then back up. We saw rain hit at this time as well. And let's just see, how much was our temperature drop? We went from 79, again, this is in El Reno, we went from 79 at 7:30 to 58, over 20 degree temperature drop in about an hour and a half. Impressive. There's your Oklahoma cold front for you. Yukon probably still doing this temperature drop. I bet Yukon will continue to drop. We went from, let's go to your meteogram, make this a little bit bigger for you. 79 at 8:25 to 62. A 17 degree temperature drop in about an hour. And looking at your handy dandy downloadable meteogram, you can see exactly when that front hit, the wind direction changed, the wind speeds went down and then back up, and then we started to get some rain. It looks like our rainfall right around a little over 1/10 of an inch here. I know we need more than that. What did they get out in like Hinton today. Let's see. There's your temperature drop. Whew, that was a good one. From 82 to 67, a 15-degree temperature drop in 15 minutes. From 5:20 to 5:35, we dropped 15 degrees out in Hinton, and that's a degree a minute. That's pretty impressive. Let's go back to the radar, make sure you didn't miss anything. I will get wrapped up in doing something else, looking at temperature, looking at storm reports, looking at models, and then we will forget to watch the radar, which is what we are on here to do. Anyway, just a little recap for anyone who is just now joining. These storms up in Missouri, not too impressive hail concerns here. I think that if we have any hail, it'll be less than the size of a quarter, if even the size of a quarter. As we get down into just the last parts of Kansas here and the southeastern sides, they are actually warning for some larger hailstones, $half-dollar sized hail here. Let's see how far out we're watching for this hail. It looks like just in Kansas. So we're talking about $half-dollar sized hail just in the very, very far southeastern side of the state right here. As we get a little bit farther down to the south, not worried about the strong winds or the hail in Claremore all the way up to Bonita, just getting some much needed rain. Excuse me, a little hiccup there. Some much needed rain in this area. And going all the way down to Oklahoma City now, and I'm watching for comments because I know whenever we do this kind of round the radar, we always have some comments on here. Just watching for comments that I haven't answered yet. Let's see. Oklahoma City, we've got that severe thunderstorm warning. What about hail? 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and potentially ping pong ball sized hail in places like Stillwater and Perkins. Edmond, you've got that severe thunderstorm warning, including Oklahoma City, for 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and quarter sized hail. Minco, it looks like we have something confirmed down in Minco. It will be for I wonder what we're doing with that. A stronger severe thunderstorm warning for 70-mile-per-hour wind gust and quarter-sized hail for this severe thunderstorm warning down in Minco, going into Mustang right now, and then eventually going into Oklahoma City, maybe even hitting downtown Oklahoma City here as we head farther down to the south. We did earlier tonight have a 71-mile-per-hour wind gust in Fort Cobb. That was from, I think, that line of storms that's going into Minco right now. Back at Fort Cobb, 71-mile-per-hour wind gust. Continuing to track to the south here, or to the northeast into Minco now. One of my favorite things to do at this point is to look at our ODOT cameras. Here's your ODOT cameras. And we've got the storms coming in to the northwestern side of the city. So let's start up at one of our northwestern cameras. We've got a little bit of lightning up here. We've also got some rain. You can see that lightning. Let's turn this around. See if we can see any of that lightning. Ooh, there you go. There's some big bright flashes. Looks like people are getting on the roads just fine here, but it does look like we may see a little bit of a slowdown as you're getting on the highway. We don't have any storms out in the north, or we don't have any cameras out in the northwestern side of the metro here, and I'm listening out my door. We may have just had a strong wind gust come through. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like we just had the gust front come through, which makes me look at the radar and show you that we have a new severe thunderstorm warning. And while I show you that, I'm actually going to pause real quick, and we have some things on our front porch. As I mentioned earlier, I was not severe ready, and I'm going to make sure that I take those things off of our front porch and bring them inside. But I do want to show you, we have a new severe thunderstorm warning for 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and less than a quarter-sized hail, so not too worried about that hail size here in Oklahoma City, but we are watching for those high wind speeds as these storms come through. Okay, we've got storms in Edmond right now, we've got storms in Yukon, storms are now moving into the north and west side of Oklahoma City, and as I was listening earlier, it does sound like we've got some pretty strong wind out there as well, so I'm going to go ahead and move those things off of my front porch, and I will be right back. Give me about 30 seconds and I'll be back to make sure that you guys know exactly what we're looking at with the radar across the US. And we've even got some snow. Look at that, Colorado Springs getting some snow right now. Alrighty, I'll be right back. Alrighty, and I am back. If you have any questions, I see we've got a few people on Twitter right now, a few people on YouTube as well. If you have any weather questions, let's see them as we continue to track these storms through Oklahoma City. So as I mentioned earlier, we just had, and I can pull up some of our better radars here. Let's pull up this radar right here. Actually, let's pull up this radar. Here's what I wanted. Here we go. If you see this thin line of blue right here, I could probably get it to show up a little bit better on a different radar, but this will do. This will do. This thin line of blue right here, this is your gust front. That's what I just heard out my window just a few minutes ago. This is a gust of strong air that is kicking up dust. It's been so dry here lately. It's kicking up a lot of dust across Oklahoma. It's kicking up bugs and little butterflies as well. This is kicking up these little particles. That's what you're seeing there in blue, is the butterflies, the dust, the bugs highlighted there, maybe even some bats highlighted there in blue, but what it really is, what it's signifying is some really strong winds. That's what I heard just outside of my door just a few minutes ago. We do have some strong wind out there right now that may be blowing some things over. It blew my watering can over. That's going into more right now. It's going into Valley Brook as we speak. Behind that is going to be this line of severe storms. So I can actually show you that on the radar that we've been watching all night long. You can see that those severe storms go anywhere from Minko up to Yukon, Edmond, and then even as far up to the north as Hominy, Oklahoma, and now even into Claremore, which I did not expect this area to go severe for at least another hour, but it does look like we have some stronger storms in Claremore, Sequoia, and Foyle, Oklahoma. So this is for 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and $50 sized hail. And Emma, hey, Emma. Don't touch my flamingo. Can you lay down? Thank you. Alrighty, and I apologize about that. We had, I brought in some things from outside on our porch, and my dog has decided they are her new toys. Anyway, we have a severe thunderstorm warning highlighted here in yellow for Claremore, Sequoia, Foyle, all the way up to Chelsea for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and the hail on this, yeah, just a little bit larger than the size of a quarter, 1 inch and a quarter in size, which is I think $50 size hail. I was correct on that there. So we've got some strong wind. I can hear it outside in Oklahoma City right now. We've got some strong wind coming through Oklahoma City. We've even got some good downpours coming through here as well. Let's see, Union City, Minko. What are we warned for here? $70-mile-per-hour wind gust and quarter-sized hail. So stronger wind down in Union City, Minko, and Yukon. Edmond down to Yukon, we're looking at 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and quarter-sized hail. So once again, as we've been watching all night long, that hail size not too impressive. However, the wind gust is what we're warning for here, what the National Weather Service is warning for here. And we've been watching our cameras across the city now. You always know when it's raining across Oklahoma City because you start to see these yellow and oranges start to pop up here, and that signifies people are slowing down, which you should always do in the rain. People are starting to slow down. There may be some more traffic on the roadways here. Oh, these cameras don't load. There we go. This is a great shot of the city. You can see the clouds in the background here. Obviously the road very wet, but it doesn't look like we're seeing any rain right here. Some wet roads though. Drier down in downtown Oklahoma City. Let's look off to the west. There's the lightning. You can see the lightning. Like behind the scissor tail. Let's see if we can get another lightning strike in here. Watch those storms come in. Lots of people on the roads tonight. And then if we go a little bit farther to the west, we can see most likely some wet roads. Not yet, but we can see the lightning. or the flashes from the lightning kind of like bouncing off the cars. Let's see if we can see any lightning out there in the southwestern side of the city. All right, what reports are we getting from the mesonet? Something that we were watching earlier where our temperatures, but we didn't even check high wind speeds. Let's check our wind speeds here. Wind gusts, 43 miles an hour in Apache. Acme, 32 miles an hour. Not terribly impressive there. But if we look at today's maximum wind gusts, we did have some pretty strong wind gusts up in Marshall. Now, this was the same area, or just to the east of that area that we were getting reports of. Actually, this was just about the same area that we were getting reports earlier of some large hail as well as some strong wind speeds. So let me go back, and this is something that I think that we're going to be talking about tomorrow morning as well. If you can look right here in Orlando, Marshall, as I mentioned, we had strong wind, 80 miles an hour, ping pong ball, golf ball sized hail in Marshall, and just between like Marshall and Mulhall. And then the mesonet reporting, go back to the mesonet here. The mesonet reporting 96 mile per hour wind gusts in Marshall as well. So this area is something that we're going to be talking about tomorrow for strong winds as well as large hail in this area. Again, that's where we saw those storms start to pulse up, and just for a bit, just a little pocket here, those storms pulsed up and created some really, really strong wind and some pretty decently large hail. And again, as I've been talking about all tonight, my dog is very loud in the background, so you may be able to hear her right now. She's very cute. She's quite loud in the background. She's getting a drink of water right now, so you may be hearing her in the background here. And don't you love those looks that they give you? Like, what? What am I doing wrong? That one severe thunderstorm warning that was in the northern side of Oklahoma City has now been canceled. Bethany, Edmond, Arcadia, Seward, Piedmont, all out of the warning now. However, we still have the warning going for Yukon, Union City, Minko, Tuttle, and Mustang. We've been following these storms as they've been trying to move into Oklahoma City. They've been taking their sweet time to do so. But now we are watching for some of the strongest storms in the state just outside of the metro, or I guess I should say outside and just outside of Oklahoma City. Yukon, Mustang, Union City, Minko, we could see up to 70 mile per hour wind gust and quarter-sized hail. So that's one of the stronger storms that we have going on in the state right now. That's continuing to move to the north, and let's go back here. So if we back this up a little bit here, this is moving to the north and east. So it's going to go right on the northwest side of Oklahoma City. So we're talking the strongest area of storms going into Bethany and the Village over the next 20-30 minutes here. Hominy, Oklahoma, still with a severe thunderstorm warning that goes until, let's see here, 10 o'clock. So we've got another 25 minutes on this. And these storms, this severe thunderstorm warning down to the south and Yukon, this goes until 10 o'clock as well. Yeah, 10 o'clock as well. That one up in Claremore, just almost out of Claremore now, like Foyle, moving out of Sequoia at this point, going until 10:15, moving up to the north, out ahead of the front. But an interesting conversation that's going on in our weather chat here is, what's the front going to do? Is it going to overrun these storms? And then if it does, all of these storms are going to be on the cool side of the front. And what does that mean? That means that if we could keep these storms on the warm side, they're going to have all of that warm air, all of that moisture to fuel these storms, to make them, to drive them into the overnight hours. However, the front overruns these storms, what we're going to have to work with for storm persistence to see these storms persist through the overnight hours is cold air and dry air. That doesn't fuel storms, that kills storms. So if you want those storms to continue and you want rain down near Pauls Valley, Ada, Muskogee, we need these storms to stay out in front of the front, ahead of the front, on the warm side of the front. If the front continues to track to the east faster than the storms can, these storms will start to fizzle out, and the potential for rain as we go into the early morning hours will be lower and lower and lower. Not to mention, could we see those storms last through Fayetteville, Springfield, and Columbia? I think there's a better chance the farther north that you go because you've got this leading line of storms out in front. But the farther south that you go, we'll have to see. We'll just wait and see. Overall, these storms have underperformed for the night. They started a bit earlier than we expected. Pretty impressive. Hail sizes in those areas near Mulhall that we were talking about earlier. However, other than that, these storms have been underperforming for hail sizes. Not too bad for wind. I mean, we've seen some really impressive wind speeds, 60, 70, 80, 90 something miles an hour for those strong wind speeds. We've even seen some severe thunderstorm damage, some downed trees reported in Wheeling, which is in the northern side of Missouri. We even saw a tornado warning down in southern Arkansas. So we're going to ride this through as it goes into Oklahoma City, but once these severe thunderstorm warnings are canceled or after it's out of the metro, we are going to hop off for the evening. So if we have any other questions that we want to get in before I hop off of here, let's see if we have any other questions real quick. I don't see anything on Twitter. Let's see if we have any questions on YouTube. I don't see anything on YouTube either. But we are having some connectivity issues right now. I know we had a lot of questions earlier, and I think that our connectivity issues really made it difficult for y'all to see me. Also, our storm here just not very impressive, and it does look like the National Weather Service went ahead and canceled these severe thunderstorm warnings. So what does this mean for our storms? That you're getting rain, you're getting lightning, you're getting thunder. That's what you've got here in the Oklahoma City metro. Alrighty, let's do a little round the radar, and then I'm going to hop off of here, and I'm going to let you enjoy the rest of your evening unless we have any questions before I hop off of here. Hominy, Oklahoma, still with that severe thunderstorm warning that goes, I think we said earlier, until 10 o'clock. Still a severe thunderstorm watch, still a tornado watch that goes until midnight tonight. However, this severe thunderstorm warning has been canceled as well. Okay, we have a severe thunderstorm warning highlighted here in Chelsea. We mentioned earlier that that goes until 10:15. Pittsburgh is the only severe thunderstorm warning left in Kansas right now. The rest goes all the way into Missouri through Liberal, Walker, continuing to track to the north and east, and eventually farther to the east into El Dorado Springs and into the rest of Missouri as we head into the overnight hours. This severe thunderstorm warning for 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and penny-sized hail goes until 9:45. Two more here in Missouri through Warrensburg and Marshall. This severe thunderstorm warning goes until, this one is actually canceled. This one farther up to the north until Kirksville. until 10:15. One thing that I think has been pretty impressive about this line of storms here is it feels like it is either all or nothing. No matter where you are, Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma, it feels like we were really ramping up all at the same time, and then now starting to see this weaken significantly, again, all at the same time, as we're starting to see severe thunderstorm warnings canceled as well, as that severe risk go down pretty significantly. So thank you for joining us on this Wednesday evening, where we did have that pretty impressive severe storm risk for October. We're going to continue to look for damage pictures and keep you updated on anything that we see through the overnight hours. As always, Hail Trace always has a meteorologist staffed 24/7. So no matter what time of day or night it is, we will have someone mapping those storms for you, whether it's 60-mile-per-hour storms or 100 plus. Someone will be mapping it. Alrighty, have a great Wednesday night. Sleep tight. If you are out ahead of this line of storms, make sure that you have at least 3 different ways to get your weather updates, your weather alerts. You need 3 different ways. One of those should wake you up out of your sleep, because we are still going to see storms as we go into the overnight hours. If they go severe, you want to wait to know about it. All right, have a fantastic Wednesday night. We'll see you back here for your forecast at noon tomorrow.